Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Life channel. Today you join me in what can only be described as horrible weather. Just on my way back from work, it's absolutely pouring with rain, and I just thought it'd be a good chance to talk about Volvo safety. It's something that Volvo uses pretty much, or did use for a long time, as their USP, their unique selling point. All of their brochures discuss safety. If ever you think of automotive safety, you think Volvo every single time. So I thought I'd discuss, as a Volvo owner, is it that important? Because surely, and I get this quite a bit, is what's the point in having, you don't need safety, all you need to do is just not crash. Which I sometimes can't quite believe when I hear, because yeah, I think people just have so little understanding of A, how crashes happen, B, what it's like to be in a crash, and C, the damage and injuries that can be caused by crashes. So yeah, I mean, obviously you guys know, long-term viewers of the channel will know that I was involved in a pretty hefty crash, a head-on crash at about 40 miles an hour, or with a car going 50 as I was doing 30, so equivalent, I suppose, to both doing 40 miles an hour. But and that was a head-on in my BMW 1 Series, which what prompted me to buy the Volvo in the first place, because I needed a new car, and from that experience I learned a lot about the importance of crash safety. For example, my role in the accident was that I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time as that driver fell asleep. I actually filmed it. I had a GoPro on my head at the time, which is absolutely hilarious, so be sure to check that out on the channel. It's not difficult to find, and that taught me a lot in the fact that you can be driving, you can be completely stationary, you can be driving the safest car in the world, you can be driving perfectly, doing absolutely nothing wrong, as actually I was, I like to point out, doing 30 miles an hour in the 30, and yeah, a car came around the corner on the wrong side of the road and hit me head on. So that is what I say to people is the reason you drive a safe car. Had I been driving for example, my family's got a 1973 MGB Roadster. Had I been driving that, I wouldn't be able to make this video now. I would have the steering column go straight through my face, broken glass, it doesn't bear thinking about. And having worked in a role where unfortunately I had to see the devastation that car accidents can cause, yeah, it's not a pleasant experience. I mean, such a small percentage of people have actually been in a serious car accident, yet if you are involved in that situation, you want the safest car possible, which is why I actually went out and bought a Volvo. I'd always liked them anyway, and I always just like the idea of having something that's, I know I'm protected in. I feel like I could crash this car, or I feel like in the same situation as I was in the BMW, if that happened in this car, I'd have been even more protected. For example, in the BMW, the airbags didn't deploy, and I had whiplash from the seats, etc. Whereas the Volvo has all that protection built in. You've got the whip system, you've got all sorts of bits and pieces. Now, what I like about Volvo and the way they do things is the fact that they break it down, and they do a hell of a lot of research. I'm sure you've all seen the videos of Volvo's research facility where they just constantly crash their cars. Sorry if there's a jangling noise, I've got a dog cage in the back because the dog's been to work with me today. There's all sorts of different crashes they simulate, and they measure forces, and they look at the most common issues or the most common injuries in car crashes. And and then find ways to mitigate them. An example can be found on the runoff protection on these cars. They've built in a system into the seat rails that will collapse in the event of going off-road, to stop the shock going up through your back, because a lot of people were getting spinal injuries as they went off the road into a ditch with the shock coming up through their back. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff. Now, Volvo safety goes far further though than crash protection itself. It goes into how the cars are built. For example, in weather like this, these cars are built to be completely sort of at ease with it. Completely stable, completely I'm trying to think the best way to put it, completely at home and safe in these conditions. Now, I've had cars in the past that in these conditions you would be, as soon as you hit standing water, you'd be off all over the place, whereas in this car that is massively reduced, and they do that through a whole host of very clever things that I don't really understand. But yeah, just to have that peace of mind, and with a car that's designed to sort of traverse all weathers. For example, the Jeep, I've discussed this before, is awful in the rain. It's partly due to the big tyres and silliness of it all. It's just absolutely awful. But even the way that Volvo have designed the wipers, so that you get full visibility all the time, whereas some cars the wipers are rubbish. On this car they're really good. And in winter months as well, you've got the whole heated elements. You've got the heated rear screen like a lot of cars have, but this car has heated washer jets so that you can clear your windscreen during the winter, because there's so much salt on the roads during winter. It covers up your windscreen and you can't see, but when your washer bottle's frozen, it's a nightmare. So it really does really have built-in safety. It's not just the safety equipment in the event of an accident, but it's also the equipment they use to prevent accidents as well. Now, Volvo were one of the first brands to introduce the sort of city braking, so that if you were driving along and someone stepped out in front of you up to a certain speed, the car would automatically hit the brakes, or if you, for example, if you're coming up to the back of a car too quickly, it would hit the brakes automatically. And Volvo were the sort of the pioneers in that field compared to other brands. A lot of other brands brought it in later, because Volvo, what they do is they don't ever patent safety kits, for example. So when they invented the seatbelt in 1969, they made it free for all other car makers to use. They didn't have to pay them sort of a royalty fee or anything like that, because Volvo were genuinely interested in the safety of road users, which I just think is excellent. So yeah, I mean, Volvo now have sort of moved away from the safety. I think they still have an element of the safety branding, but Subaru, believe it or not, are a massive tour de force in the latest safety kit, and they've sort of taken on that torch from Volvo in innovating safety. I think Volvo have got to the point now where the cars are so safe there's very little else they can really do. They have introduced the speed limiters obviously on the cars, the later cars. I think that was last May, wasn't it? They introduced that May 2021 or even May 2020, I'm not sure. But yeah, so they are doing little bits and pieces, but they're more looking at themselves as a sustainability and sort of good for the environment car brand, if there is such a thing. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know if was safety a factor when you bought your Volvo. Was it something that really was a major player, or was it something you didn't even consider? And then what was the major players when you were deciding to pick? If it wasn't safety, what was it that sort of clinched the top spot, as it were, for your Volvo, and why you chose your Volvo? And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully in the next one it'll be a little drier than this. Cheers.